Hey everyone, welcome back to Pipejawood. It's great to have you here again. Today I'm working on something really special made from this incredibly bright yellow piece of sumac wood. Just look at that natural color. It almost doesn't look real, right? A few days ago I asked you in the community tab if you'd like to see what I'm going to make from this piece of wood, and most of you said yes. And because the last video where I turned a beautiful bowl from the same sumac became one of my most successful videos so far, I decided to challenge myself and create something very practical and everyday useful from this same wood. Sumac is lightweight, flexible and incredibly vibrant, and yes, this yellow color is completely natural, but it does demand sharp tools and careful cuts because it can chip quite easily. First, I drill a 7mm hole into both pieces of wood. I've marked them earlier, piece number 1, piece number 2, and I also added a small X on the matching sides so the grain will line up perfectly in the end. After that, I lightly sand the copper tubes to give the glue a better grip, and then press them into the wood using super glue and activator. This keeps everything tight, stable and ready for the next steps of the process. Before I move on, I'm really curious about something. When you see a piece of wood with a color this bright and this unusual, and what would you turn it into? Every wood turner sees something different in a blank, and I'd love to hear what ideas come to your mind. Drop your thoughts in the comments and stay with me, because the final result might surprise you just as much as it surprised me. Now that both copper tubes are securely glued inside the wood, the next step is to clean and prepare the ends. For this part, I'm using the Axminster end trimming tool, and to be honest, this is one of those tools that looks simple but makes a huge difference in the final quality. What it does is precision. Cut the wood perfectly flush with the copper tube. It removes any tiny glue residue, straightens the surface, and ensures that both ends are cut at a perfect 90-degree angle. This may seem like a small detail, but without this step, the fittings won't sit properly. Gaps can appear and the whole project can feel slightly off. With soft woods like sumac, this step is even more important because the end grain can compress easily. The Axminster trimmer makes the cut clean and accurate, giving me a perfectly prepared surface to work with. It's one of those tools that once you try it, you don't really want to work without it anymore. After trimming both sides, I check the alignment one more time, making sure everything is seated perfectly. Good preparation saves time later, and it prevents problems when assembling the hardware. With the ends perfectly clean, it's time to mount both pieces onto the mandrel. I'm using the new record power mandrel designed specifically for turning pens and rings. Record Power recently released this kit, and I actually like how solid and stable it feels on the lathe. It holds the blanks centered tight and perfectly aligned, which allows me to shape the wood with precision. The mandrel also eliminates vibration, which is extremely important when you're aiming for smooth curves and consistent thickness. It gives me the freedom to focus on the shape instead of fighting the movement of the wood. If you want to see a close-up review and more details about this mandrel, there's a link appearing at the top of the screen right now. Now it's time to move over to the lathe and start shaping the wood. And since you already know what I'm making in this video, this is where the interesting part really begins. Before I continue, I'd love to ask you something. When you see a bright, unusual wood like this, do you prefer pens with a slim, elegant shape or a slightly thicker, more bold design? Let me know in the comments. I always enjoy reading your ideas. To start, I need to turn both pieces into a perfect cylinder. This is the foundation of the whole project. If the cylinder isn't straight and even, the final shape won't match the hardware correctly. Once I have a clean cylinder, I begin shaping the lower section. This part sets the character of the piece and defines how it will feel in the hand. By the way, pens in our shop aren't made only by me. My wife Petra also turns pens and she's incredibly good at it. But this one I decided to make myself. If you'd like to see a video of Petra making a pen from start to finish, let me know. I'd be happy to share that in a future upload. As I'm finishing the lower part of this piece, the final shape is already starting to reveal itself. You can see how the curve forms, how the proportions settle in, and how the character of the piece slowly comes alive. For this stage, I'm using a 12mm spindle gouge. It's the tool that gives me the most control for fine details and smooth transitions. But with Sumac, there's one thing you absolutely can't ignore. The tool must be razor sharp. If the edge is even slightly dull, this wood can tear out instantly. And once that happens, you lose the clean line, the surface gets damaged, and the final result just won't look right. So every cut here is delicate and intentional light touch, clean bevel, and constant awareness of how the fibers behave. Now that the bottom section is almost complete, it already gives a clear preview of how the finished piece will feel in the hand. But we're only halfway there. The top section still needs to be shaped, and that's where the final balance and style really come together. So let's move on and start shaping the upper part, where the whole design will finally take its full form. Now I'm moving on to the upper section of the piece. Just like on the lower part, I'm shaping it slowly and carefully. But here I'm adding a small twist to the design. The top will follow a similar curve as the bottom, but with a slightly different contour. Just enough to give the final piece a unique, balanced, and truly handcrafted look. This is the part where you can really play with the character of the piece. A bit more curve here, a softer line there, small decisions that make a big difference in the final form. So stay with me until the end, because this subtle detail is what makes the whole design stand out. Here you can clearly see the difference I've created on the upper part. It's a small detail, but it completely changes the character of the piece. For me, wood turning is much more than just shaping wood. It's a form of art. When you mount a blank on the lathe, you never see the final shape right away. It grows, changes, and reveals itself cut by cut, and that unpredictability is the most beautiful part of this craft. This is where wood and art truly come together. Every curve, every subtle decision, every tiny adjustment creates its own rhythm and flow. Maybe that's also why wood turning feels so natural to me. I'm actually a professional musician, a bass trombonist, and in many ways turning wood feels just like playing music. In both, you express yourself through movement, control, listening, feeling, and you reveal a part of your character in everything you create. So when I shape wood like this, it's almost like composing a melody, slow, calm, expressive, and in the end, it all comes together into something that feels alive. After sanding from 240 all the way up to 1000 grit, it's finally time to polish the wood. For this step, my wife Petra and I developed two completely natural, food-safe polishing pastes, and I use both of them here. The darker paste is the coarser one. You'll notice in this clip that I was a bit too aggressive with it, and the friction created a small burn mark on the lower detail. You can even see a bit of smoke. That's what happens when soft wood meets too much pressure and a slightly coarse paste. But despite that, This paste works incredibly well at smoothing the surface and closing the pores of the wood. It leaves everything even, warm and perfectly prepared for the finer finish. Next, I switch to the lighter, finer paste. This one adds clarity, definition, and a soft, natural sheen, all without darkening the original yellow color of the sumac. By the way, I'd really love your opinion on something. Would you be interested in buying these two polishing pastes as a set in our Pipejawood shop? Either together with our Carnauba and Tung Oil finish, or as a standalone set of both pastes? Let me know in the comments. Your feedback will help us decide if we should offer them in the store. For the final protection and shine, I apply a coat of Propolitura, a finish made from pure propolis. It's completely natural and works similarly to shellac, but it needs to be used together with a polishing oil to activate its full effect. This combination gives the wood a deep, rich glow while keeping the natural color beautifully intact. And here it is the finished piece. You can really see the beauty of this wood and how those natural yellow tones come alive in the final shape. I also have to apologize. Somewhere along the way I lost the footage of the final assembly. Either I misplaced it or I never pressed record. It happens sometimes. But I hope you don't mind. The important thing is that the finished piece is here and I'm truly happy with how it turned out. If you'd like to own this piece, it's available on our website at pipejawood.com and also in our Etsy shop. You'll find both links below. And if you enjoyed watching this project, it would mean a lot to us if you subscribe to the channel, liked the video, or shared it with someone who appreciates handmade work. Every bit of support truly helps us grow and continue creating these projects for you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.